Let's go ahead and get started this evening. I love it. The City of Centerton Planning Commission, October 3rd, 2023 with a roll call.
Brandon Swoboda,
Here.
Tony Davis,
Here.
Ed Lewis,
Here.
John Cecil,
Here.
Gary Harris,
Here.
Greg Weaver,
Here.
Devin Murphy, Joey Engel,
Here.
Jeff Safer.
I'm here. All right, first on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our meeting of 9/19 of 2023.
John, I motion to approve the minutes from 9/19/23.
Joey, a second. Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? No admin approvals this time. Under old business, we have track split 2304 Stubbs with the right-of-way waiver request at 8778 Tycoon Road. It is zoned A1 with a parent tract of 33.08. Track 1 request 2339. In track 2 of 9.69. And this was tabled at our last meeting, so I would entertain a motion to bring it back to the table.
John, I motion to return track split 2304. Table.
Tony, a second.
Motion and a second to bring the track split 2304 back. Is anyone opposed? All right. How are you tonight? Any updates from last time or anything you want to add?
One thing I would like to say is on the, city staff comments for consideration. The very first thing it says property owners avoided the required track split process to obtain city approval. I guess talking about the prior track split.
I don't know what that means either.
Prior, the prior two track splits did not come to the city that I could vote.
When the first one was when we sold the house and 5 acres. We had contacted the city and anyway, back and forth with the realtor and all that. I don't remember exactly what happened. I do remember the closing agent at Lindsay and Associates said that she would waive that. So we went ahead and closed. I don't know how any of that works or what, but we did contact the city and we. I don't remember, do you?
No.
We had to do. Anyway, whoever the closing agent was at the time in 2019 said she would waive it. So we went ahead and closed. Now, the other one, the 2 acres we sold to a friend of ours. We didn't realize we would have to come to the city for anything on that since, it didn't go through anybody except us and our now neighbors. So anyway, we weren't trying to avoid the city. By no means. So I just want to put that out there. Nothing was intentional on that at all. Did that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Eric or Lorraine, any additional information from staff on this?
Well, there is as far as, like you said, I included the information for the 5 acres and the 2 acres that were previously split off with providing those instrument numbers. One was 5 acres and one was 2. The 2 acres, this is where the whole thing does not fit with an agricultural lot split. So creating the 4th parcel then triggers the subdivision regulations. And the question was regarding, they have appealed the right of way. The track split regulations and subdivision regulations. There's a requirement for dedication of right of way per the master street plan. So if you look on page 2, right of way dedications would be Huber Road is considered a local road of 50 feet. Future Huber Road, which is the north property line, is a minor arterial of a total of 90 feet. Tycoon Road to the west is a major arterial of 100 feet. So the property owners have requested a waiver from the 45-foot dedication on the north side of the property, the 45-foot dedication. And you have their letter in your packet. They state that there's a hardship due to their new home being built in 2021. And that this had been approved through the city. They went through the building permit process. Planning is not reviewed. We don't need those building permits. And I know the building department, they do their best to make sure that they meet the setback requirements. This didn't,
Not future setback requirement.
yeah, I don't believe that they look at future roads right of ways. So the placement of the home is about 65 feet from the property. Should and when that road be constructed, if they dedicate the 45 feet, it will leave 20 feet from their home, their existing structure. So, and like if they had gone through the process with each one, with the track splits, we could have
Yeah.
informed you. But, and I don't know who you spoke to regarding that you didn't need to come through.
I don't remember the husband's name.
How do you get a sale and a deed on a tract that hasn't been split and it's not a parcel?
Because.
Buy what's already been bought, right?
The Benton County Recorder of Deeds and Records, the.
They'll record anything. You just present it to them, but no.
Let me write that.
Most of the
It
time.
just doesn't seem like they would have.
I
I
have
don't do that.
copies of Arkansas state statute saying that it must go through the city for approval. And they have ignored it.
It happens all the time.
So we end up with problems because we don't see these. So they also, in our code, there's, like before we had the track splits, they would have like a deed, but then it would be required for it to come to the city and the city would sign off, no plat required.
Mm.
And that way, that's how they used to do it. Or 20 years ago, 25 years ago. A long time since that was done, but it can happen. It does. So the question, they're requesting the waiver, so that's for the planning commission to determine. I did add the the city code as far as your consideration, but when we tabled it last time because I wanted to seek legal counsel and also speak to a consultant. And I actually consulted with 2 legal opinions and a consultant. And they all have given me the same opinion. And if you look on page 3, Brian, let me see if I'm missing anything. Okay, as far as for consideration, I guess the word avoided, I apologize, that might be a little strong. But they did not go through the required track split process to obtain the approvals. And so therefore we could not plot those right of way or obtain any dedication of the right of way. They do have 2 homes on the plat. I believe you said your mother's. Is that a modular? Okay, so I wasn't real concerned. I believe that in the future that could be possibly split off. Or, since it's modular, it could be even.
Mom's 83.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be here.
I wasn't worried about that being. A1 allows for an accessory dwelling, so they're in compliance. So staff had also, before we tabled this last time, and we had discussed. And I just want to let you be aware, on the north side of the property, prior to the master street plan being updated. The north property had a track split and they had dedicated 40 feet of right of way. On the other side. So one of the options we were looking at is 40 feet of right of way, and then they maintain that 25-foot setback. That's just something to put out there. When we spoke with legal, then you have Brian's opinion stated here. That code section 1456-401 gives the planning commission authority to draw up a master street plan. And then code section 1456-417 gives authority to require reasonable right-of-way dedication. When the city adopts a master street plan, property owners are put on notice of the city's intent to build roads in the future. Therefore, we have the right to require right-of-way dedication. I have spoken with a staff attorney at Municipal League who agrees. Furthermore, the folks at Municipal League believe that since the landowners did not follow proper procedures with the city to do the previous lot splits, the city does not even have to respect them. Also, we are not rendering any parcel of land unusable, and they can still use the land for its intended purpose. Therefore, this would not constitute. Essentially, we are mandating an easement. So as far as the options, we could give a waiver to the property owners, change the master street plan, or they can show us that we have rendered their land useless. So we did also contact other cities were contacted on their processes. And all of them, and I mean, in the Northwest Arkansas, do acquire right-of-way dedication with a track split, even if it's two parcels we have found. And that avoids, like, you'll, when you get to the subdivision, you know, when you get to the things that trigger a subdivision, then you have those missing gaps. So that avoids that problem. So the planning, this is according to codes, our code section, Centerton Code Section 15.08.08A. The planning commission can vary or modify or deny the waiver request. So it's not just yes or no. You can. And whenever this is regarding variances, whenever the track split to be subdivided is of such unusual size, shape, or topography, or surrounded by such development or conditions that the provisions of these regulations shall result in substantial hardship on the subdivider, the planning commission may vary or modify such requirements to the end that the subdivisions may be developed consistent with public welfare. There was a second section regarding agricultural purposes, referring to the definitions that the main portion of the property remain as agricultural. And I also added the section in regarding the property owner does have the right to appeal the decision.
Based on what's been presented, are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners where you might need clarification or anything like that?
Was this just on the waiver? It says track split, but
The track split, the approval will depend on the decision of the waiver,
gotcha.
on what they will show on the track split.
They'll have to modify the track split after this,
Right.
so will come probably the next one.
Yeah, because I wasn't seeing some of the
There's some missing information on the track split that made it a little difficult to tell what the roads were, what the right of way is. And so there are those comments.
So tonight is just on the waiver.
Well, I mean, you could verify the track split based on the comments of staff with the right of way being shown.
There are no additional questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion.
So you just for clarity, the waiver or the track split?
The waiver.
Oh, we want to vote on just waiver?
Yep, we can vote on the waiver first and then we can vote on the track split after that.
Okay. I motion to approve track split 2304's waiver request.
So, just to clarify, so the waiver request is that what amount of right of way would be required? I think needs to be stated. Zero,
So- We haven't,
45 is your choice.
and that's 45, right? That's the whole.
They're not showing anything right now, right?
45 is what would be required.
Well, what's the waiver request?
What's the waiver request? Is there a?
The waiver
request is for zero.
Believe.
on the north side, so on Huber, which is to the north. They're requesting 0 right of way dedication for that.
There's no road there, right?
Understand?
But you're also, the commission is also allowed to vary
And
the
so,
right of way requirements,
so
vary the request.
we could say 0, we could give another number. Or I think based on what I've heard, it's 40 would equal what's on the other side. Is that correct? So we could make a suggestion of 40. They don't have to agree to it, but we could do 40. And then it would be equal on both sides. Those are our options.
That also would maintain their setback, right? 25 feet. If they do 40, yeah.
And to make sure I understand, the attorney's recommendation is to recommend Master Street Plan. Make sure I understand that.
Correct.
So essentially, it's all or none. Right.
Have to be.
That was my point.
It can be. That's it.
It says waiver, but it's up to us to determine what we.
Yeah, I don't know what you're wavering, like,
What is the waiver request?
I think the
Waiver on the north end.
Waiver request that they're asking for is 0 feet of dedication.
Okay.
But Lorraine's saying the planning commission can adjust the required dedication amount.
Or we can just agree with
And the
0.
requirement, can we just go back over the numbers? I can't get access to the documents, so I'm.
So the requirement for that future road
Yes.
is 90 feet.
Right.
So 45 on each side.
Right.
The other side though,
Has already dedicated 40.
at 40.
Right.
But 45 is what, based on the master street plan, what we should
And I
ask for.
assume the master street plan changed.
Let me understand. Require the full.
You can't.
We can,
Totally can.
yeah, we can.
What would, what's the problem?
They built this house.
Oh, and it's in the,
It won't be in the right of way. It'll be 20 feet from the full right of way. So.
So I'm just. Clarification purposes regarding the process that this has gone through. There was a track split done that was not gone through the city. 2 track splits that was not properly done, gone through the city.
Correct.
We're not here for that. That's water. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But that's created a problem. That we're addressing today.
Correct.
And a house was built and permits were given. And gone through, but you guys never got to see that. And that's typical. not typical.
Not typical, but
Usually if the building department has any questions, they will come and ask us otherwise, but this is one thing that we need to get with the building department and make sure that they also look at, not just the plat,
Right.
because this is.
I'm just trying to walk through owning responsibility for certain things. So did our building department miss a step
No.
in that? Okay, that's what I'm clarifying.
No,
And then did Benton County in pushing it through miss a step as well? Legally,
depends on who you ask.
legally, they don't,
They did.
legally, they did.
They should have said you don't have the city's signature on this and
But they,
used it, because when we take something, they make sure we have every signature.
but they don't follow that requirement.
Because that would have alerted homeowners, hey, just so you know, you're within,
And so would have the first track split.
and so would have the first track.
Hey, had they followed the code, they would have been alerted. At that time, back in 2019.
And so I think I'm just saying, is there a compromise here? You're saying 0, we're saying that's probably not gonna fly.
I'm looking at 90 and I don't see where it impacts anything. It doesn't. So if you say 45, 50, 65, it doesn't matter, throw a number out there, it's the same. It doesn't touch or render the land unusable.
Oh, okay, good point.
So I don't know that I know we can have flexibility, but I don't know that solves anything. You're still gonna have that right away either way, either have.
It's
it
in
or
a
don't.
greenhouse problem in 10 years. It could.
I can probably solve this easy. If we're all or none, or is there a compromise? You came back tonight with no compromise. So even if we said 40,
We've agreed
Still
with
a
the
no, right?
other two dedications, but I do not agree with the North Bank.
okay, then I would recommend we take a vote on 45 because that's what the request is. And then we can go from there. I'm just trying, I mean, 0, yeah, sorry. So
Yeah.
I would recommend we take a vote on 0.
Can you repeat that?
So there's no compromise that was brought for us tonight, so they're still requesting 0 for that northern road. We've asked for 45 because of the. So my recommendation is that we take the vote on the request before us, which is 0. Okay, that's my recommendation. And we don't have a motion, a full motion yet.
I will restructure my motion to approve the right of way waiver for 0 feet. Right away.
I'll take it.
Okay, we have a motion. And we have a second. I would like a roll call on this, please.
Okay, Brandon Swoboda,
So I just want to be real clear before I vote, that I fully understand what I'm voting for and why in the world you call the youngest guy on it.
It's not my first night though.
It's no, I know.
So the request for us is to always make a motion in the positive.
Yeah.
If you vote yes, then you would
Then-
agree
then-
to allow it.
Okay.
If you vote no, then you're not going to allow
Which
it.
means I'm saying we got to stick with the.
Correct.
No.
Tony Davis.
No.
Ben Lewis.
No.
John Sessoms,
No.
Jerry Harris.
Oh,
Craig Langford,
No.
Devin Murphy. Oh, he's not here, I'm sorry. Joe Hinkle.
No.
Jeff Safer.
I'm a no as well. So now we don't have to vote on the track split, correct?
Okay, so the waiver request has failed. I just want, so, the track split, you could vote on the track split with the requirement that all right of way dedications be shown, including the 45 feet on your property line. Along with, I think there were maybe some other minor comments,
Outstanding stuff.
minor plat comments.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve track split 2304 with all right-of-way dedications shown per the master street plan and any outstanding staff comments addressed.
Mr. Jerry, I'll second.
A motion and a second. You will do a roll call for me on this one as well, so we're consistent, please.
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
John Sessoms.
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Safer.
Yes. Okay. So that's how it's approved. The appeal process, if that's what you want to do, is listed in the packet, which is the city council. You can go before them and you can request it from them.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
If we were asking for 0, of course. If we said 20 feet or we'd agree to 20 feet, I mean, would that have made a difference?
I can't answer that. I really can't. What I would say is that those from the city, 40 is already on the other side. I can't answer for the other commissioners whether they would have thought that 40 was enough so that it's equal. I don't know that, and I can't give you a yes or a no on that. But you came to us with 0 compromise on that. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why it failed tonight.
All right.
All right, next on the agenda is track split 2315 Cox Development LLC, dedicating right of way 180 and 182 Second Street. It is zoned R3 multifamily with a parent track of 1.21. So splitting off into 0.31 and 0.90. How are you tonight?
Doing well. Jay Young with Development Consultants and representing the project. Although it may have been some complications on boundary to get to this point, I think is a much simpler track split than the one we just heard. We are taking a tract of land at the intersection of Second and Fair and dividing it into 2 tracts. There's an existing home. We're creating a tract that is in compliance for the setbacks and right-of-way dedication requirements that for that existing home to remain. And we are creating a separate tract that will be built upon and going to require or request a permit after approval of the tract split.
Diane?
Yes, this property is located at the corner of East Second Street and Fair Street. They are splitting, like Jay said, that they're split into 2 parcels. There is currently a duplex on what will be lot. Show me the map.
1.
Yes, lot 1. And then the other lot will be just a vacant lot, and they are wishing to constructing another duplex there. It is zoned R3. Is most of the original downtown area, since there are various different types of home styles in that area. I did make one change since this was printed earlier today. It is zoned for flood for AE and X on the very southeast corner of the property there. So I made that change after it all got printed. So my apologies. They are also removing the property line for in that southeast corner. You see where there's a whole lot of lines and a whole lot of words. That is a portion of East Second Street that was platted with the original city plat. It has since been vacated and dedicated to one property owner, then the other property owner, and they've kind of gone back and forth and had it split, and all of those documents were also included for you guys so that you could see those. So it is, they're dedicating 13 feet of right of way for West Second Street. And also for Fair Street, they're doing a total of 10 feet. There is an existing curve there now that is horribly inadequate. So this would give us the right of way to straighten all that out and fix it. There is, as you can see here, a fire hydrant right adjacent to the street that probably needs to be moved, because I know right now, I believe they have some rocks or bollards around it, so it's not fit. So that would probably be a good idea to be moved. Like I said, that existing fire hydrant is there. There's a few minor comments left on the plat, but other than that, it does comply with all of our codes.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Just one that I want to point out. It looks like there's a guy wire going into lot 2 in the southwest corner. You might see no utility easement there. Just wanted to bring it up in case something happened. Gotta go to the left more. Yeah, right there, right next to the point of beginning. Anyways, that's it.
If there's no additional questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for track split 2315.
So Joey, I'll make a motion to approve track split 2315, contingent upon the outstanding staff comments.
John, second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is a public hearing. This is a public hearing for rezone 2308 Rodriguez. The request is from A1 to R1, the north corner of Bates Lane and Huber Road. It is 10 acres. Want to give us an overview? What you're requesting?
Is to pull out 2 of the acres out of the 10 and turn those 2 acres into R1. And leave the rest of it just agricultural.
Eric, you want to give us a staff overview?
It's located on Huber Road. Just northeast of the property we were discussing on the previous, or the 2 items ago. They want to zone from A1 to R1. And with it being split in more than 3 times, this would also require right-of-way dedication. So we're thinking an extra 5 feet would be needed towards Huber Road with the 40 that's already dedicated on their side. So instead of the 5 feet added to it, that the plat would rededicate the 40 feet with the additional 5 feet included.
Is that for the rezone?
No, for the track split.
Rezone, right?
This is just the rezone.
We'll get to that. So staff has a recommendation. Yeah, with the track split, staff would recommend that only the 2 acre.
Split first.
Well, it may be easier to do the track split first on this, and then that will show.
Let's just hear about it and then we can.
Okay.
Anyway, it's both intend to be rezoned into R1. What I mean about the track split is that with the 8 acres being well above the requirement for A1, that the 8 acres remain A1, that gives them more use, that gives you more uses available to you. It doesn't limit a lot in regards to what R1 would require.
The uses would remain agriculture, which is consistent with
what it already is.
Yes, and it complies. The size of the lot, it's not required that it be rezoned. So we asked if they would like to amend their request to just be the 2 acres. To rezone just the 2 acres so that it would be in compliance with the zoning district area requirements.
Okay, so basically they were doing a track split and rezoning both to R1 originally. Okay, I follow you now. Instead of 1 A1, 1 R1. So that would make sense to do the track split first.
What's the problem? What's the problem with that? Because they're gonna come back and rezone them R1 as they keep splitting them.
Well, looking at the surrounding zoning, they could actually do an R2 or an R3. They're surrounded by
Gotcha.
other zoning districts.
So since this is a public hearing and it's advertised, we have to
It's a lesser intensity.
A1 is lesser.
What about the regional?
Yes.
Yeah, we can still,
A1 is a lesser.
A1 is lesser than R1, so they can adjust that.
Does the applicant want to do that?
Just leave it A1 and then take the 2 acres and make that R1. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just south of Shirley Estate, which is zoned R3SF. It is located in the land use plan, a low medium density residential district. So it wouldn't be consistent with the land use plan, but the density is lower. They tend to have higher density. And
It's in with low density.
Low to medium density, I think it would.
I did it based on units per acre. And that's versus what the, anyway. So it abuts Huber Road, which is on our master street plan, a minor arterial that is 90 feet right away. There is a 15-foot sewer easement running on the running from the east side to the south diagonally. Sorry,
The west side.
the west side to the south diagonally. And it would service, sorry, track split. There's also a river running from the west side to the southwest corner alongside of it.
you guys are good with the A1 and the R1. Okay. Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open up to the public? Y'all want to sit down for just a second? We'll.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for rezone 2308.
Second. Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? You're now open to the public. Anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the rezone 2308 from remaining A1 for the 8 acres and R1 for the 2 acres. If you have any questions or comments, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address and any questions or comments that you might have. Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. And third and final call.
Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for rezone 2308.
Sean, second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? If there are no questions or comments, we'll go through what we need to consider. First one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan, if not why. And I do think that based on low to medium density, that it is consistent from an R1 perspective. Does anybody disagree with that? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? I do believe it is compatible. R1 would still be residential. Does anybody disagree with that?
Just have a question related to that. Where's the 2 acres?
It's on the east.
Eastern side, far east, yeah.
Okay.
The whole,
There we go.
whole one.
Whole width, okay.
Good. Still good?
Up to that. Yeah.
Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, I think based on the R1 being residential that it does. Does anybody disagree with that? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? I do not believe that it provides a benefit. Something we would consider for each one of the similar properties. Does anybody disagree with that? If the public is opposed, why? And there were no objections, no emails sent in or anything like that. So there was nothing from the public. So if there are no other comments or questions, then I would entertain a motion for zone 2308 Rodriguez.
The Just the 2 acres being R1.
Correct. Well, I'm not making the motion, but
Yeah.
whoever makes the motion, yes.
This is Greg. I make a motion to approve rezone 23-08 with the 2 acres from A1 to R1.
Joey, a second.
Motion and a second. Samantha, if you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Brenda Swoboda,
Yes.
Tony Davis, Ben Lewis, John Sessoms,
Yes.
Barry Harris. Greg Langford.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Jeff Safemark.
Yes. Thank you. Right. Next is the track splits, 2317 for the refuge property. Again, it's a Huber Road, with the parent track being 10, track 1 being 8, track 2 being 2. Eric, do you want to give us a track split overview?
Yes, so it's minor subdivision, it has a minor subdivision status with the previous 2 splits, one from 2019 and one earlier in 2017. So we're requesting 45 feet along Huber Road. Both tracks will have direct access to Huber Road. And then there's a, as I said before, there's a 15-foot sewer easement running along the 8-acre tract, not servicing the 2-acre. It is more than I was thinking like 480 feet on the west side of 2B. Oh, sorry, 5B. 2-acre. Staff has minor comments regarding plat notes, the right-of-way dedication, and the property line representation.
And I want to go ahead and clarify on the 40 feet, this was part of the 40 feet that was dedicated with the prior track split. The note on the plat said that it was shown as planned right of way and that it would convert on annexation into the city. So when it converted, then the assessor's office showed that as planned as city right of way. Just for cleanup and making it dedicated, I would like to totally dedicate it on this plat so that it just makes it nice and clean. It's shown as dedicated, so they're agreeable to the 45 feet, is what I understand.
That's it, things to be you do it in the 45.
Do a 45.
It's just an additional 5.
It would be an additional 5 feet. But they will show a dedication per the plat of the 45 feet, just to clean it up. We've done that.
No, that's one. Oh, I see what you're saying. Old property.
Any questions or comments from any of the
Does
commissioners?
that sewer, I was trying to pull up the GIS and it just let it, does that sewer run across the whole frontage or does it turn and go south?
So,
Okay. What about the water?
It's across the street.
Oh, are you talking about the riverine or are you talking about?
No, the water line.
Okay.
The water line. Yeah, it's across the street and I know that that was supposed to be a utility easement and my understanding was that the water would be on my side on the south side of the property.
Yeah.
But it's across the street. So then does that mean, and this is just my own question, like that utility easement, can that sewer line along the west side that's cutting through the property already be run through that easement? Like to connect to the 2 acres? Is that?
Utility easement on the bottom,
Mhm.
should be able to, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the one thing I do see there is that the manhole is not shown in the limits of that easement, 15-foot wide. I'm assuming it goes,
yeah. With the turns, you would think there would be manholes there. So
yeah, well, I'd think there'd be another manhole north, right?
with the-
Right there at the corner. Right, and so to me, just based on that one, manhole, it looks like the easement might need to be adjusted to actually cover the sewer line. Cause it seems to be outside of it right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That it might be
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's,
to locate the second line on the field, because based on the deeds information, that's how the easement is in place.
Yeah.
You know, the sewer just outside.
And do we allow them to vacate by plat? Or does it have to be a separate document?
if it's a public easement, it has to be vacated through the process. If it's a private, it can be vacated.
I was just pointing that out. Everybody's reviewed it and apparently they say they're good, but I just wanted to point that out. But if that were the case and that easement needed to come over, you would have extra that you could maybe get rid of where it's at right now. If they only need 10 feet. Because to me, it looks like the sewer line's outside of the easement that was platted or deeded before. But that's just something for y'all to look into.
We'll show that to Malcolm. Bring it to Malcolm. And
There's a public works director that they'll work with to eventually figure it out.
Kind of
So
just protection for y'all and the city on the next phase, so nobody builds on top of it or stuff like that.
So, but we wouldn't resolve that today.
it is not gonna hold us up.
No,
Yeah.
I was just pointing out for
There's nothing to do with the 2 acres that you're.
everybody's benefit.
There's no additional questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for track split 2317.
Don, go ahead, Don.
This time I make a motion to approve TS 23-17 Rodriguez.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
You.
All right, next on the agenda is subdivision 2302 Crystal Cove Phase 4. This is the preliminary plat and plans. It's at Kenyon, it's on Kenyon Road. It is zoned RTH MF 12. 9.98 acres with 62 dwelling units. Am I tonight?
Well, how are you?
Good, good. Give us an overview.
Sure, this is a piece of property that is just to the west of Crystal Cove, phase 1 through 3. And it is somewhat of a continuation, tying onto the streets that are in Crystal Cove and bringing ingress and egress out to Kenyon on the north. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Diane?
Yes, this subdivision, this proposed subdivision is on the south side of Kenyon Road. It's just to the west of Crystal Cove, phase 1 through 3, and to the east of Elegance and Kenyon, which is still under review. There are 62 single-family attached townhomes. So that is 6.21 units per acre, which is appropriate units per acre for a townhome development. They are dedicating right of way on Kenyon Road of 40 feet. And it does conform with all of our city codes, contingent on a few staff comments that we still have outstanding on it. And they are connecting to Crystal Cove phase 1 through 3 with Garrett Road and also Lapis. And Lapis will continue all across the south side to eventually come out almost to Highway 279. It will turn north, but then you can access 279 from that. There is no open space with this specific subdivision. The utility services are located on the south side of Kenyon Road, so they will be connecting to that and also connecting to sewer from 3. Property is not located in or adjacent to a floodplain. And there were no wetlands on this specific property. And the drainage, there's no proposed detention pond for this particular subdivision, because everything's gonna be draining to Elegant and Kenyon, which will be the one next door. They're all kind of definitely connected with one another here on this side. Alan did approve that previously. They are working on some changes to Elegance at Kenyon. So if there are any modifications to the drainage, Alan would have to, reapprove that drainage report. But as of right now, it's good, and the revisions to Elegance at Kenyon shouldn't be impacted the drainage. The adjacent street agreement has been approved with comments on the gravel shoulders. That comment has been provided to Tim Lemons for him to update that. I said they're doing the 40 feet of right of way, so that way there'll be a total of 40 for Kenyon. Then they are improving the road to 25-foot width, 2-foot shoulders on the north and the south sides. They do need to have sturdier shoulders, and Tim has been made aware of that. There will remain a ditch on the south side and graded to provide positive drainage to the west. Streetlights are added at 300-foot intervals with consideration given to the intersections, and since it's very short subdivision compared to most with the access there in Kenyon, there's probably just gonna be that one. There's a 5-foot sidewalk that matches Crystal Cove. That's what was required with that, so that way we'll have matching sidewalks. And they'll also have 9 feet of green space. A new culvert will be added parallel to Kenyon Road for the intersection of Kenyon and Crystal Drive, which is the drive in to this subdivision. There's no landscaping beyond just street trees there on Kenyon Road. And that was it on that one. Let me know if you guys have any questions.
I got a question. Going, part of that with that drainage connecting, that they can't have their final until that pond is all connected and tied through. What sort of easement, or is there any sort of, I guess it'll all be, once it's all connected with the other one, it's all connected through easements. Yeah. And the requirement from knowing that this one can't really be done until.
What about
during construction, like for a sedimentation basin? Not to build one, because all along it said that they can't do this one till that pond's in. So that's just the one thing, is that having that pond in to collect that, so they might have to do a temporary one here. Not anything difficult.
something that's a little unique about this property is that, and it kind of goes into account with the density. These lots are going to be relatively deep compared to most lots in this area, only because of the shallow width of the property. We're putting a road down the center, and we're going to have big backyards on both sides. So our density is actually a little bit less than what you had in Crystal 1 through 3. And I'm not sure that a temporary sedimentation basin will be required, not by ABQ, because we're under 10 acres. We're 9.98.
Yes. Crystal Cove phases 1 through 3 is 6.48 units per acre.
That just means you don't have to, doesn't mean you don't have to do erosion control.
Oh, yeah, we do erosion control. Yes, absolutely.
There are no additional questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 2302 Crystal Cove Phase 4 preliminary plat and plans.
John, I'll motion to approve subdivision 2302 preliminary plat plans.
Greg, a second.
Motion in a second. Is there anyone opposed? Thanks, Tim. Good luck. All right, next on the agenda is Centerton Tire Plaza. They have a waiver request for entrance on Centerton Boulevard. Try to give her the short straw.
Try to get her to go first.
Try to give her the short straw. It didn't work, did it?
Yeah. My name is Scott Rhodes, with Plaza Tire Service and Rhodes Development Company, which is the property owner. My family owns Plaza Tire Service. We're based out of Cape Dry, Missouri. 75-ish locations. We have 6 in Northwest Arkansas, which we've developed in the last 5 years. And Centerton was one of the first towns we looked at where near the Starbucks, and actually I think Firestone ended up going there. Got distracted and in some other sites, but we're asking for it direct access to Centerton Boulevard. We understand that the spacing distance does not meet the code exactly. However, in order to get delivery trucks in and out of the property off the site, we need direct access, direct access entrance so we can loop the building. The Walgreens entrance, I think you all have a copy of the drawing with the auto turn on.
There we go.
There you go. So this is what we're asking. So we can loop the property. We'd also if you, I think we also supplied a drawing with the without the entrance showing that the truck movement does not work. That's the premises for our request. I guess one thing we'd like to take in consideration, the Walgreens entrance is 213 feet off the center line of, or the right of way of the cross street with an entrance, and then you're about 287 to the next entrance, which does not meet code. When the Walmart entrance or the Walgreens entrance does not meet code when it was put in, or the ordinance. And for to be safe, to have a quality life, we need the entrance and are requesting it. Appreciate your time. And I think Ms. Candace is going to follow up with more details.
Hi there, I'm Candace Anderson with CEI Engineering, project manager for this project. We had an initial meeting with the city on, I believe it's August. Days here, excuse me for a second. End of August for concept and pre-app meeting. Our request here for this driveway was initially sparked by access to the property. We initially had presented the city a two-way driveway, and city came back and pushed against that due to the proximity of the other existing driveways and the proposed driveway with Walgreens. Walgreens is actually in construction right now. They are not compliant to the current code, which obviously does not fall precedent on what we're asking here, but we are asking based off of the needs for the property for a large truck access and to loop around the on-site property and to have safe access. We're asking the planning commission to accept a driveway under the required 400-foot minimum distance. If you go back on exhibit A, please. This exhibit shows the size of the truck that is needed for this this commercial property, and the ingress and egress of the site. It becomes very becomes a safety hazard, and it also can be posed as a very difficult maneuvering process with the size of the truck. Now, the city is asking that we have access to cross access easements. However, at the site with the size of the truck, we're unable to do that. Now, if you go to exhibit B, we are able to make it to the site with accessible access in a safe manner and allowing that maneuverability on site with an egress back onto Centerton Boulevard in a safe manner. Now, although we understand that we are under the minimum code requirements, we do ask that you take into consideration of the Walgreens that is currently under the Muni Code requirement, and also on Exhibit C, we have identified that there are multiple adjacent properties along Centerton that are also under that minimum code, and ask that you grant this waiver for this property to build at this location.
Ask a few questions. CEI did the Walgreens, right?
Yes.
Okay. Lorene, when was the driveway deal enacted? Because that's pretty recent.
January 1, 23.
Yeah. So that's a recent addition to the code. Obviously, if you spend any time in Centerton, you can understand why we placed that code. Because it's an issue with all of the two-way turning traffic, the movements coming in and out on both sides of the road, kind of set up for that head-on, both people trying to get in the turning lane. So what options have you guys explored? Because I can think of a few here that aren't shown on your plan that I think could be viable. I think you could ask for some cross access to the rear of Walgreens where your truck could come straight out. I also think that you could probably rework that drive to your east and gain some width in both driveways to help you out to get in and out. So have you guys discussed that?
Yes, we actually acknowledge that, yes, there is those capabilities. However, there is already a granted access, cross access with the Walgreens. And of course, that would be a process on the north side to get Walgreens and the corporate office to accept cross access with their corporate office.
But this is the site that was picked for this Plaza Tire, knowing that you have to have this WB 67 or whatever you got here, 62 interstate.
And your option to move the drive east, there is a drive, storm drainage in that location, be kind of a little bit closer to that, but that is also an option as well. But our request here is to get that waiver under that minimum requirement of under 4.
Yeah, I'll just be honest. Personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I think we should explore all other options before we add a new drive cut right there that's 100 feet away from the existing one. That's just my opinion.
And to not have an access from Centerton does pose a lot of design considerations with both properties. If we were to consider both of those properties as a cross access, that will have to be into consideration. And if you go back on Exhibit A, the Walgreens entrance, that truck, if it was to exit that Walgreens at those two stop bars there, that would pose a huge problem at this location. The truck would span across the entirety of that drive approach. So that can be a safety hazard on Centerton.
It's taking up your whole drive approach on your entrance as well. So I think that's the same safety issue.
Well, this one, right.
I hope that the truck, comes early mornings, late at night, when there's room.
But that's also posed a problem for Walgreens as well. That's their drive. Yes, there's an access easement there, but that also poses a problem for the Walgreens customers, not only just for the access of the truck as well.
I imagine you're gonna have some dump truck issue, or some trash truck issues as well. It's not anything that's uncommon for putting this type of development, receiving those kind of deliveries on this small of a site.
Is the. Remind me of the Walgreens semi, was the intent there for them to come in the. Loop north entrance and then loop around and come out? Is that what the intention was?
The other way to come in off 102 and leave. Off of Copper Oaks.
That stuff like,
Yes, and the shared access, that was an option for them also to be able to go through Walgreen and come out. Copper Oaks is intended to have a light someday. It lines up with Walmart Road. So also, I've been finding, at least at that intersection, it may be that we need some designated turn lanes. Because people are getting in the middle lane, and you have to go, especially like with Ace, and then you go around, but then people turning left off of Womack will turn in and be in that lane, so then you can't get in. It's kind of a little.
I see.
Right now, but
Kind of why I said what I said.
I think there do need to be.
So their truck route comes in and then just goes, makes an L, right? And if there was some sort of agreement between the two to use that, and their truck could do the same thing.
Come out on Copper Oaks?
Yeah.
Also, if you,
Making that same turn, it wouldn't be able to make the turn to go around there to go north off of that.
Still wouldn't be able to get in.
Vehicles to make the turn from in front of them to go north, to go around that same exit. Semi's not gonna be able to make the turn to go north. Make that same exit, but.
They also have the entrance from Walgreens that has cross access, right? Is that what you're saying? It's not gonna be able to turn north to get out?
Well, I'd say down at the southwest corner where that access is, the truck's not gonna be able to make that 90-degree turn.
No, I know. I'm saying if they get an access easement across the north part of the Walgreens right there,
have to make
and just
that.
go straight across.
Man, I can't, sorry. We spoke about this on our phone call, and Ms. Burns brought up the rear, cross access to Walgreens. And actually, I think there was some confusion that maybe the city had requested that or required that, and it didn't get done. In their development plans. It's an exercise in futility to work with Walgreens unless I have something to give them, or if you all force them to do it. You all cannot force them to do it now. A neighbors with Walgreens in many places, and it's typical corporate real estate, just unless you have something to benefit them, they won't give you anything. The only reason they gave I would imagine the only reason they gave the one cross access is because you all forced them. I'm not for sure, but I doubt they volunteered it. So it's again, have worked with Walgreens, and unless you have something, they won't return your phone call.
How often are y'all getting these full-size semi? It's because there's the one in Bentonville and I can't say I've ever seen full-size semi there.
Sure, we get them probably once a week. It just depends.
My question is on the shared access agreement, Walgreens. How wide is that shared access agreement? Is there any room for improvements to the east to widen that driveway? Or the shared access easement agreement?
I believe they're, when we looked at those, they're 24 feet. And it really hinders us on the site to the east, because of the
Yes, the
width.
shared access, my question is, the shared access agreement, is the driveway built per the agreement? If the driveway agreement is built 24 feet off the property line, then they put the driveway in the wrong spot, and you should have access to that additional open space right there between the Walgreens and your property. I guess that's my question.
I mean, I don't know if it was built to the location.
Well, see, there's your width.
24 foot wide.
If it's not, then it's platted to be a driveway, you could actually go in there and widen that driveway to meet your requirement.
It's only supposed to, I know the easement is 24 feet wide. Now, I cannot tell you if it is placed, if they built it in the right spot or not.
That's my whole point. If it's not built in the right spot and it's platted as 24-foot access easement per the plat, there's your 5 feet, whatever.
I know it's still only 24 feet wide.
I'm saying you can widen that driveway if it's in the spec.
It's only 20, you only have a 24-foot easement. It can only be 24 feet wide.
Where's the easement shown? Because I'm not seeing it that well.
It is not shown in this exhibit.
Yeah, I cannot make this, this is a 24-foot easement. I cannot make this 30 feet. Because it's a deeded 24 feet. I cannot tell you if it belongs exactly right here. But I'm assuming it is.
So with Walgreens, and they brought up on the north part of Walgreens. Did we require them to give access?
It was discussed and later the plans were. Staff agreed to change and put.
What was required and platted with the Walgreens?
Like it is,
Like, they don't show it, so I don't really know.
that it has a 24-foot cross access easement. They have that drive is intended for a shared drive with the adjacent property.
So there was no other required access.
She said it was brought up during the planning meetings, I guess.
It was.
And Walgreens didn't volunteer it.
Man, that would be, because there was a proposed development there. And it would have made it good, but then it was decided that they could just drive around and use and come out this way. Or they could go around Walgreens because it was a less intense use, maybe, I would say. So then it was decided that, well, but then we don't really need that rear access. We find some on, we're kind of finding on some of the developments along 102, with everything being in the front but most of them are, we do have a rear access easement also. So this one somehow that was eliminated from the approved plans.
Your bill.
I just want to add, I was on the call with them when they presented this. And just so you know a little bit about my background, didn't grow up Peter Mayer. I was used to working trucking for 22 years before this. And I worked in the corporate safety department. And, when they first brought this, without asking for this, these things are narrow and I can just see potential accidents happen, especially this one on the left. On the Walgreens deal, this truck's coming in from this way, he's gonna have to wait for all these people to come out and anyway, I just see a big potential problem, just the way these driveways are lined up. I mean, I understand maybe coming in the back and cross, but again, I don't know. I can't talk about what happened before. I have a concern with this, just looking at this, and I did express that on our call. So anyway, I think fire.
You think an extra access is safer?
I think.
Is that what you're saying?
I think, yeah, come straight in, come back out and. Yeah, because the truck, the turn radius of that truck with a 53-foot trailer. It's not gonna be ABF truck, it's gonna probably be, a large carrier. He's still gonna have to make a wide turn. He's got to get all around all that. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. The thing I'd like to note, if the Walgreens it is in construction as currently in construction. It still did not follow the current Muni code, with a 440-foot requirement off of Cooper.
Say Walgreens and everything else doesn't matter. Those were done and approved before the code went through. So the fact that existing drives don't meet, that's the reason why the code's been enacted. Because right now we're trying to follow the AASHTO recommendations of driveway spacing for that safety. So you don't have all the stacking of vehicles in those twiddles in the middle and try to prevent some of the accidents. So The one thing I don't see on the plan is. Why does the truck have to go all the way around? Why can't you park in the front, have your loading zone on the front to unload?
Yeah, and then back
Once
up.
you do that, it kind of eliminates some of your curves.
I mean, that's a customer entrance, storefront.
So I mean, I'm seeing door on the side. On that sign there and all the parking on the side. So I mean, they can still access, you're not blocking access to the place.
You have parking up here, there's a door here. There's.
And all the parking on the side. Yeah, so for once a week,
Still have customers crossing. The.
yeah, so for once a week when you're loading, because you said you only come in once a week.
Spaces in the rear, sir.
Okay, well, they can. Go around back.
So it's the one thing I just didn't see.
In the access on the east side there, what? Is there a reason you can't use it?
This,
Yeah.
it's 25 foot wide. It's extremely normal, I guess. Now that, I mean, I don't even know if a 24 foot entrance is
They're wider now.
typical or 30.
And it could be wide.
I was gonna say, could we not
So
talk to the
there's
property
some
owner
city
about?
Infrastructure here that
Storm box?
I don't know exactly.
Utility poles.
And you still,
The other way.
I mean, it's still not our property, I mean, you have.
Oh, yeah, but.
But it's your truck that you need to get in there.
I understand, I mean.
Yeah, I don't see how somebody can get in that 25 foot anyway.
I need to restate.
Right, I mean,
I was just thinking more
Clip
about,
clip that corner back.
I was just thinking more about working with that entrance to, and working with the owner and all the mayor's pull and influence that he has to work with the owners to get that done, to get it wider and. Boy, that saves everybody. I mean, we've just got to think about. You know, our citizens and and the traffic and it's already pretty crazy. So I understand the Walgreens issue. But have we attempted any kind of conversation over here to see if we can't do that route? Get it wider and get it working, because we're talking about Tire Plaza off Airport Road as well, correct? Which you have to come off of J.
Very, very tight.
Yeah, it's very tight, from what I remember, because I mean, I've got my tires.
Did that in.
Right off of Southwest Airport Road. And.
Not in, and then you have to go to the back.
And you go to the rear and then go straight out onto.
But isn't that a shared drive with the tenants next door as well?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's on our property, so we're able to go straight behind our building. We don't have to, we don't have to make the turn.
You could adjust the radius there and like. that work.
You need to restate on the development on this. It was approved with the rear stub out to the west. From the previous development. It's
East.
to the west before Walgreens.
Oh, okay, this plot, nothing.
Yeah, this land.
I don't know if they pulled out of theirs when I don't know what happened to that planned connection through there, but it was not carried.
What development was here before? Oh,
It was.
Dairy Queen, yeah.
Yeah, it was not carried through.
Right.
It's planned.
Right.
We have. Need tires too. I'd rather have a Blizzard. I waited 2 years on that.
And the Walgreens site, the property actually goes further back. That's that. But right now, I mean, they just put in trees and landscaping, so. And easement does need to be obtained. It needs to be obtained quick before things get too established. Okay, things.
So I got a question, is staff's assessment that says Walgreens was not built perfectly, this creates a hardship for this developer?
No, the Walgreens was built.
For plan.
So it's
The
not.
plan changed afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, It's due to their traffic, what they need in order for their business, the length of your trucks, your delivery and so forth, that these. And I will say the driveway to the east on the shared access to the east, it does appear, it's one of the early ones, I guess, that it was approved small. You know, narrow, it's very difficult. You can't hardly have a car there and turn in, you know, so. We learn things that. But, so it does need to be, you know, it would need to be widened. But the intent was not to have so many accesses that they're all over the place. But like we've done over, you know, I mean, 102 and Greenhouse Road with, you know, on the north side, I mean, it's really nice having that rear access drive through there.
But this is not a hardship for customers. I mean, customers, safety wise, are gonna be able to get in and out of your store to do business. You know, at the way it is now. You know, so the hardship for customers is gonna be putting in an extra driveway, in my opinion. It's a hardship for the customer. And so as a business owner, I mean, I kind of feel like, let's put the customer first. Let's figure out how to, you know, for their safety first, and let's figure out a different way to get our tires to us. You know, I mean, that's just kind of, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking about our residents and our customers. I mean, they,
You know.
I'm one of your customers. I mean, I buy your tires and
Thank
say,
you.
yeah. And they're gonna be able to access the business based on.
There's safety concerns when you start stopping traffic and trying to get 53-foot trailer, tractor and trailer in this 24-foot entrance.
Maybe it needs to be wider. That's what we're saying.
We said, like, right now, if the easements that are currently existing are only 24 feet. So, and that's where these are the existing ones. So I just pulled the code, and that's where, you know, the strict enforcement of the space regulations prevents them from having driveway access to all their roadways. I mean, we have the ability to review and approve that alternate location. That complies with the, you know, the best practices for access and safety for traffic and pedestrians. So I mean, pedestrians on it will have the crosswalks. It's that worry on traffic. So like I said, with these, with the sweeping out, what they were saying before is that truck going through Walgreens with the shared access with the turning radius it needs to make in there will, with the truck they're saying they're using, would block all three lanes. If he's trying to leave, no one can turn into Walgreens. If you can't turn into Walgreens, the truck won't be able to turn.
They're also turning from the turn lane to get into the side. So like, that's a safety issue too, right?
It's also a safety issue with too many access with everyone.
No, that's what, yeah, that's,
It's just,
I mean, this is a difficult site to get a semi trailer in, like just period. Regardless of the 24-foot drop.
would it be possible to eliminate the east drive and relocate it?
We would give
only
a
access.
cross easement onto ours. You know, I'm not for sure, but I think McDonald, you know, you take, most businesses deliver off of 53-foot tractor and trailer, including McDonald's. It's a tight spot.
Is
For fire. Access, where are you on this? I'd love to hear that.
Have a whole lot of room. My preferred and my ideal for not only, I think it would help solve their trucking issue, but also. Cause this is gonna be a sprinkler building, eliminate your east into Tooth Squad. Give them theirs. And then have back access off of Walgreens. So that way they turn in, they go out, and eventually we're gonna have a light at Womack and Copper Oaks and East Centerton Boulevard. Another concern I have is with the semi sitting there, going to turn left across 5 lanes of traffic. Especially whenever a stoplight gets put there.
I don't have anything in my code to make that happen, but in a perfect world, that's what I would like.
Most likely a semi would not make a right or a left coming out because they would go the path of least resistance, which would be a right to the stoplight and then I guess left by the McDonald's.
They're gonna have to go
They don't wanna
a
be-
long way to the city.
I don't want to do that.
Or go all the way out, I guess, to the bypass.
Almost. And even that's.
You come in the Walgreens side too.
So.
It's the exit trade is looking at anyway.
279.
So it's not that Walgreens has denied you access to the north, right? It's just we haven't asked them yet and we don't, and we know they're different.
They want compensation for it.
They won't even talk to you for conversation. They don't want other traffic on their lot.
Well, and on
What
Dairy
it comes
Queen's,
down to.
on Dairy Queen's approved site plan, there is rear access. So Walgreens should have somehow, hey, we're all human. I miss stuff all the time. I miss a lot of stuff all the time. Somehow that got missed and that should have. Because all of this was discussed way back with Dairy Queen and then again with Walgreens. I mean, this isn't the first time we've talked about flow and circulation through this site.
They don't have their final yet, do they? They don't have their final yet, do they?
We hadn't counted trees yet.
Walgreens? They have not.
I was gonna ask that same question.
They have not.
You're also looking,
They're getting,
that's their consultant too, right? I mean, you work for Walgreens and them. Have y'all discussed that with them?
On my project.
Ain't my problem.
Our project manager, that is the
I think
Yeah, I mean, I
So
That's the best way.
I mean, I think to keep us on track, because we could probably discuss this till it starts raining later. I don't think any of us are in favor of adding that additional driveway. I didn't hear anybody. I agree the discussion.
Look it up.
I like the discussion on the large truck aspect because we seem to have it on a lot of different projects. The person in Slasky's apologized to me today because I have to drive up on the curve to get to the drive-through, by the way. So I appreciate good discussion in regards to the traffic and trucks. I think there's two options that we've kind of narrowed it down to. One would be to move that east eventually.
Onto their lot and close that one.
Then the second would be some sort of discussion with Walgreens. Whether it's through CEI or whether it's through some other means, because they're gonna be coming to us for a final here before long in order to be able to open. So there may be at least an opportunity to have a discussion. I don't know what that looks like, but they're not available to open yet. So I think there's potential to have a few. Just throwing it out there. I mean,
You think it's reasonable after you approve the site plan to go back and ask somebody for a cross easement?
I think if you show them a
I mean, from the
picture.
city's standpoint,
I don't represent the city, but I think if you show Walgreens or somebody shows Walgreens that your truck potentially is gonna be in the front there, which is what you have it blocking their driveway, then it may raise a question. I'm just throwing ideas out here. But ideally we would change the east, potentially go out the back, but if not, can this western portion be adjusted a little bit to make it easier on the trucks? I think those are the three options that we've thrown out here this evening.
Because technically you do have the access through their front. That,
You could drive through the front and around, but and they don't want that, obviously.
I mean, that's a.
They're leveraged.
From leverage, yeah.
I'll just drive in your front yard.
Your east option, close that drive?
Yeah, move it over.
Move the one that's for the tooth.
Move the squad drive, close it and put a new shared access on their lot further west. Rather than having two drives less than 100 feet apart.
Oh, I got you.
Closing the one,
Put a two squad, just move it.
that allows their access.
That would the city be willing to accept a wider drive if we were to accept that? Wider drive onto Centerton.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Walgreens, Walgreens has 3 lanes and 24 doesn't accommodate 3 by any means.
Wasn't that east driveway?
East driveway.
But with it also.
Slide it over to their property line, so it's almost straight in
Still,
instead of that little S there.
Still got 100-foot distance the other way.
I would say.
Well, but I think
You'll be further away than 100 foot there, because it's 180 something.
You can actually push it a little further to the east.
Push it further to the east.
It been.
This, what we're looking at right here was.
I don't know where you guys are at yet, but I'm kind of with Jeff there that I don't know that every option has been discovered or at least discussed before. I would last ditch add another driveway for me as a passenger. Like, you just don't want that many driveways.
I thought Brandon made a good point, is that's a safety concern for the customer.
And
Somebody turning left out of Walgreens. Right in.
Well, and then three accesses right there, boom, boom, boom.
Mine would be more to the left out of a new drive, right out to the squad,
yeah, left and right at the same time.
when they're less than 100 feet.
You got another tater black death trap.
across, across the street is where the new large building is going, is that correct?
Is all of the storage units.
It's actually a
Well, yeah, but there was a planned development with the commercial and.
That's a different
PUD
corner.
And the development. On the southwest corner.
oh, yeah.
So right across from it
That's-
is the storage units. And so relocating that drive, you realign the drive with the storage with.
Yeah. So if you move that one west, if you move that east entrance west, you'd line it up with the storage. Entrance.
The Dennis.
Oh.
Yeah, then we can,
There's that driveway.
they're about.
There is it, yeah.
Would that pose a problem, having the air drive directly across from them?
That's
It's actually
ideal.
better.
Yeah, that's how you want it. You want the drive.
That's it, yeah, I mean, that
Accommodate that.
seems to be
So
a solution potentially.
I guess if you step through this, why would they allow me to close their entrance and move it off their property and give up direct access?
Cause you got a really good pitch. You need it to make your business function. I don't know how you can entice them.
I'm just sitting here trying to be reasonable and think through, you know,
Us too. We're trying not to get any more collisions on 102.
A wider or accessible driveway.
Will that require an access easement on north?
And access.
If we're
easement.
to have, if we were to make that adjustment with the drive, would it still require us to move forward with an access easement to the north onto Walgreens?
I don't know where all the easements exist, so
Or
But I
request
would-
from Walgreens?
oh, you mean on the north?
Yeah.
It would be definitely preferred because you still have that truck coming out trying to make.
I think we're more concerned about 102. The conversation ideally is that, as it was stated, where Walgreens is at, is it Copper Oaks? Is a potential planned stoplight, so that would be the ideal situation. And that's the reason we had suggested that rear. But we're more concerned about the traffic getting on and off of 102.
I don't know that just moving that eastern drive solves your problem from the truck getting back out though.
Not without it being widened as well.
Turnaround of looking at with those radius, kind of get in and out of the same entrance as well. If it, depending on the location, on it, can get in and out of the same entrance, then you're not even worried about that.
Well, it kind of depends on the design. Yeah, I could just hopefully loop the building and then come back out.
Even looking at as shown, that building looks like it's sitting further south than all the other ones as well.
Not Waffle House.
So was there a formal waiver request?
Yes.
Okay, I don't see the number.
The waiver request letters.
Miscellaneous 2301. I would recommend that you just table it, honestly.
I mean, it's up to them. I don't,
I guess we would.
where I'm at on it.
You'd like a vote? Okay. This is Joey. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project miscellaneous 2301, which is the driveway waiver for the Plaza Tire proposed development.
Second. Motion and a second. Samantha, you will do a roll call.
Brandon Swoboda,
No.
Tony Davis, Ben Lewis, John Sessoms, Jerry Harris, Craig Langford,
Nope.
Joey Engel,
Nope.
Jeff Sanford.
I'm a nose vote.
Thank you for your all time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda this evening is review and discuss the zoning audit comments from Housel Levine.
Yes, and what I passed out to you at the end, well, I'll start from the beginning. But that's the one that you have in your hand, that's the document of recommendation. And it's condensed. The two documents, the nonconformity analysis and the diagnostic report are what staff received first. We went through and we discussed with them, and it provides all the backup that goes into the recommendation by Housel Levine. So this is the document that we can go through. And these are recommendations. What this is we had them do a zoning audit of where we have non-conforming uses with our zoning map, and then also go through our zoning code, find the inconsistencies, places where it needs to be improved, and nothing surprised us in what they found. So we'll just kind of start and I'll go through this kind of quickly. It's something that you all can keep in mind. And then what staff will do when we start working on the zoning code. And as you can see, as we go through this, some things we've already, some of our quick changes like to the townhome regulation. So, but you'll see that keep in mind. I kind of would hang on to this document. So you can see when we have a code revision, is that what's recommended, why and why not? So, and we'll also try, I think it would be good for staff, will kind of reference this for you also.
Quick question, will these full packets remain out there somewhere?
I think we can we'll make a subfolder under planning for the zoning audit and documents. Okay. And I'll just kind of run through these quickly so that we don't have to be here all night. Establishment of the zoning of the district, section 2. The zoning districts should be arranged in logical order from less intense to most intense. Ours, especially our commercial, our C1 is a downtown. Then you jump to our heaviest commercial, C2.
Yeah, that is confusing.
And then we go very light to our neighborhood commercial. So we need to, you know, have our neighborhood, our central, and then our heavier commercial. So that's kind of that's kind of what this goes through. The first point, rezoning areas R3D and R3 multifamily to align with the comprehensive plan. We worked on, and then also the second one, exploring rezoning land north of downtown, R3D, medium high density duplex district to match the medium high density residential development comprehensive plan. We worked on those R3 multifamily to include the R3 duplex and the R3 single family. So that it would blend that, especially our downtown that has a mixture of everything.
Didn't we kind of just get rid of that though? Didn't we kind of have an issue with the one zoning that can encompass single family, multifamily and duplex?
R3 single family, well, it's too hard to do. You're gonna have such a mix of zoning. in the downtown. So I'm gonna add a statement on that, on the table, so that it clarifies that R3 single family will have setbacks of 7 feet instead of the 10 feet. The 10 feet is required for multifamily in that district. Instead of another thing, retain the residential estate and the agricultural as separate districts. And we have discussed like possibly 2 agricultural districts, one for that 5 to 10 and one for the 10 and more. Maybe a little bit different allowance of uses, you know, as far as crop dusting and no. But another thing, getting rid of residential condominium. That would just be included in your R4 multifamily, and then they do the horizontal property.
Yeah.
We don't really need that condominium.
Agreed.
Include the term as multi-unit instead of multifamily. So. Anything they wanna, I'm gonna jump in around, so. Also.
But like this one, like explore consolidation, PhD, residential townhouse duplex district with the R3 single family, medium, high density, single family district. Is that what we just came from?
No. Well, we had. It was like a conflict, especially when you had a PUD. Is it an R3 single family or is it R3 townhouses? Townhouses are 2 or more.
Right.
And they're all on their own lot, and that's what's distinguishes.
Okay.
Is that their own lots.
You know,
We've been discussing how we could combine, whether, you know, but it makes it a little difficult. Because you still have the single family unit. And like in their eyes, they don't see a difference between whether it's owned by one property owner or whether the whole structure and then all these lots.
I think it would be cool. The one benefit of that, having them all together, is that they could have a mix of units in the same subdivision. And I think
Yeah.
that's appealing to a lot of people.
Mhm.
And I don't know how we would accomplish that right now, PUD. Which brings me to my next question. We'd had all those PUD comments and talks. Is that? Am I jumping ahead or is that in here?
There is a section on PUD.
No, that's fine. Let's just keep going.
I'll just, they recommend, that new innovation district, that's for the old downtown, and then when you have a new downtown. And, so.
Is that like an overlay?
Pardon?
Is that like an overlay?
They are saying a new district. So that you have different, you can put in special requirements for that district.
Okay.
There's a lot of things, I mean, our zoning districts, they are really basic. As you go through here, they're gonna make recommendations that there be requirements for areas, more buildable area and trying to reserve, some of the lot instead of it just being everything's buildable with the setback. And we kind of went through that with the townhome, and the way that it was reduced, it may be that the buildable area may, like Tony was saying, it's gonna take up the whole area of the setbacks, and we had some that actually was over what was left over with the setback. So that's something to consider. Is the setbacks all that's going to be left as and right now, that's what we have. Also, we do not have anything that has a buildable area except for the RTH. So, consider removing I'm down on district specific standards. And this is where I was talking about our zoning districts, we really don't have much in it. So this is adding some, more requirements or defining the district better. One is removing single family uses from the R4MF. And I believe we have done, I thought that R4MF, we only have duplex and RMF go up to 4 units, 2 to 4 units allowed in an apartment design. Multifamily upper floor residential development in the C. Okay, allow multifamily and upper floor residential development in C1 Business District to align with comprehensive plan and allow upper floor residential and commercial in the C2. That was one thing that we actually did with the on the project of Walmart. 102, I will let you know that they're looking at not going through with that project. So our light industrial and heavy industrial include some fabrication, assembly, and manufacturing that overlap. It's very difficult with some of the uses such as manufacturing, because you can have a very light, someone doing a small pottery kiln and someone doing, big lumber or something, and there's the size. So just having additional guidelines with all of this. Also with this, one thing that I've noticed, like we're just kind of adding on when we add requirements for a use. You're just adding, so this would be also establishing a section for those district specific requirements.
We're gonna jump ahead on one that I've seen that really sticks out to me on section 4. On the accessory dwelling units. Require that the property owner live on site. How would you do that? Bed and breakfast require that they live on site instead of providing, if you had a bed and breakfast and you had employees to service that bed and breakfast, that they're gonna come in at 7 o'clock to fix dinner. I mean, what's our enforcement to require somebody to the property to live on site?
Well, I don't disagree with the bed and breakfast, but the accessory dwelling unit, this keeps someone from having,
Airbnb.
my house here, that Airbnb or even just renting out anyway. And then, well, let's build another little small home there to add more Airbnb and sell them separate. That means I actually have to live on site on that lot. And I don't have like a rental unit or anything like that. I'm there, and the whole purpose of the accessory dwelling unit is to be a mother-in-law suite kind of thing. So I mean, I don't disagree with that one, but again, I don't know how you would.
I don't see how you mandate somebody where they're gonna live. How do you plan to mandate somebody where they live? I've got an issue with that, big issue with that.
Yeah, and I have actually seen one property in Bentonville where they have at least 2 ADUs, and you can tell that they're like, you know.
If you have caretakers that live, my point is you're requiring them to live on site. That's my issue. How do you
We
require?
go and we do checks.
Someone from having 2 rentals.
Yeah, I've got problems.
We send.
I've got a problem.
Send them a letter and.
It's a lot of enforcement, but again, it keeps that,
Yeah, I got a problem.
prevents you from having that.
Yeah.
Multi rentals on that property.
I mean, I totally agree with your point, 100%. But I think where that it could come into play is, I mean, unless you're renting it out and you have a lease, which I don't think we can police that. I think being able to give someone a what is it, Airbnb, what we have to approve it. We call that.
Conditional use.
I mean, like in Bella Vista, they only have a certain number, you can only do certain, I mean, I think that's where you could regulate. On that.
Regulate Airbnb. I don't see how you're gonna regulate where people live. That's my whole.
I mean, I agree with you.
In the world, you're gonna regulate where people.
Good luck regulating the number.
Yeah.
On a block or street or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, I just.
Down to the south, hired consultants to police it.
No, but as I skimmed through, that was really the thing that really stuck out.
With the rest of the ADU stuff except for the live on site part.
Turn somebody's water on.
No, other than that, take that line out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my sticking point. That
Okay.
required the person on fire.
Hard to regulate.
Same thing, look at that.
But yeah, unless you're gonna go wake them up in the middle of the night and see if they're there. Yeah, I live there, sure.
Planning police, are you sure?
Yeah, I mean,
Just come back. I'll just been on the conventional standard. We've already reduced like the residential townhomes and setbacks. And, these are things that we already have in mind, you know, like the area instead of the lot. Yeah. You know, you can still keep your front setback. Or your, front width so that you have access, but the depth of the lot can be treated differently as long as you maintain that area. But in some cases, there may need to be minimums. We may end up having configurations, but. And then it also recommends having a lot area per dwelling unit. And that would help us with if you have this size of property and you have to have so many square feet per unit, and you know exactly how many units you can have, you know, that's your max. So it just helps keep that density. There's the bullet at the very end, reduce the lot width and area standards for R1, R2, R3. This came because on our R2 in particular, it was 80 feet wide and everyone wanted to do 75 or 73. And so we were allowing a lot of variances where, yeah, we didn't have a problem with them reducing, you know, to 70 to 70, 80. But we wanted them to at least maintain that area. So that whenever you are doing a lot of variances in a zoning district, then we need to look at amending our code. And seeing as we have a lot of time, we've just kind of like, you know, you can see, we've been doing some Band-Aids. But it will be coming, but most likely after the development code, which we have a draft almost ready for staff, that all the departments to review, and Joey.
No, it's a question.
Wants to read prior to it all coming to the commission.
Is there a landscape ordinance within that development code?
Yes.
I'm talking about.
There. That's all.
You get to see it.
In here. So. Also off-street parking, taking it from the zoning code and putting it in the development regulations.
That's what I
which
said.
we
We
have all
skipped
done.
5 and 6 completely.
I like
The parking code we've already looked at and completely revamped. We're gonna go through the landscaping we've looked at.
Yeah.
And the PUD we've looked at.
Yeah, like it's,
5 and 6, I think, can be completely skipped.
I like the form-based recommendations. The commercial aesthetic requirements and the form-based, I think that's important.
That's the.
Right above section 4. Last paragraph.
Right above where?
Always going back to page.
The form-based.
Page 6.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, what were you saying?
I just said I like that section. I think it's important.
I do too. I think it would make a big difference on our. Okay, so like I said, like we were talking about. The landscaping also, I think, we do have a tree board and tree preservation. But it doesn't seem to be being considered.
That's okay.
With these developments and all the
I-
native trees coming.
I don't see there's a lot of issues with the tree preservation. I think we should make an effort where it makes sense, but in a lot of times it just doesn't.
Okay, well, maybe you can help keep some trees. Because then what our requirements are, like. We get such a pushback in our city that we, you want us to do that.
Yeah.
And then you go to another city and it's like, wow, they're fantastic. It's all that they're.
Right, right. And what I'll say is just looking at population estimates for the next 25 years, it will blow your mind. So what we're doing now is just catching up. We're not
Exactly.
ahead of the curve. And when people come in here and complain that it's gonna kill their project, they're just used to the old Centerton code where they could do whatever they wanted. That's how I feel.
We can go to sections, screening and fences. The screening, we do have, our compatibility. And we're going to also enhance that with like a table that kind of basically you have all the districts on one side, the districts on the other, if they line up and they're against it, that's gonna be a zone, and then you can go and find what you are required to do.
Stricter screening from R3 and industrial than it is from R4 to commercial.
All right. Fences, right now it's in the definitions. There's some stuff in the definitions that really needs moved out into the actual code requirement section, so that's one, and then having more specific. Here is the general location. It's, if you look around town, you can see that it kind of follows the property line, but no, I don't want those utilities in my yard, so we'll go around them. And you end up with where no one wants them. And then, like it says, additional clarity on fence height, like we had the conversation even on the detention pond, so. And unit developments, we did rework our code. Yeah. One thing that I this stood out to me, identify each site development allowance on the approved plan and demonstrate how each site development allowance will be compatible with the surrounding development. But one thing, when the PUD code was, we did that to allow flexibility so that they could work with preserving the trees. Whether they had, natural creek going through, trying to look at their site and keep some of those natural characteristics of the property. All they're basically, okay, here's 25% green space and I want as much as I can get. So we did work on at least defining open space and some of those things, but I would say that it needs further looked into. We just went through a meeting today with I mean, they understood why they couldn't count the sidewalks going into each unit. But why couldn't they count the 5-foot sidewalk along the street as green space?
And green is gray.
So I said, well, it provides a path to the green space. I said, but it's not like a trail and landscape or.
You don't count roads as green space either.
It's impervious.
Be required.
It's hardscape.
So
Are they local?
there's those kind of things. And then administration procedures and enforcement, that's, you know, that's Brian's deal.
What is that?
Administration procedures and enforcement. If they don't comply, what are the fines?
I do like the first bullet under that though. Like
Establish a process for review. and condition.
the requiring the public hearing and the criteria. It's easier for them to know what to do and
Oh, list it in the code instead of just on the
Yeah.
application.
Listed in what? The code?
listing the criteria, like the impacts and all those things to where it's very upfront. We're not having to like really push those types of questions. It's already there for us. So, good job, Brian.
Oh, I didn't do anything
Ahead of time.
Yeah.
How do you define a clear procedure for the approval of by right uses?
Well, that's
An approval
kind of
by-
like what we did with the cell towers.
Uh,
Because if they meet those requirements, you know, if they follow, then administratively, we can approve that. Oh,
ones without the
Flex
trees up in
Space was one that came to y'all as a by right. But it was
which one? The flex.
Flex Space.
Oh.
but it didn't work because it was kind of overwhelming. And I don't know that it
Too many
really
what ifs.
clearly identified
Yeah,
those uses that were going to be allowed and how they were going to be allowed.
I'm still confused on what you can and can't do in a flex space.
So. So that's what this is stating, it's kind of like in our R4, if you meet the requirements. For that, for R3, no, if you meet the requirement, well, if you add in the town. Okay, wait a minute, in R4, it allows for. It's easier to do the R3 multifamily.
Mhm.
R3 multifamily, if you meet the requirements for R3 duplex or R3 single family, then you're by right allowed in an R. multifamily. So. Then non-conforming lots, buildings and uses. It definitely does need to be updated. If you read it, it has a lot of old language. And it kind of leads you around in circles a little bit. Because you have use, you have building, or use, structure, use and structure. And
It's very clunky.
yeah. So. That needs some work back. Okay, and of course, definitions, the definitions need a total overhaul, so.
That should go to back.
Yes, and get them at the back. Of definitions before you get.
Was this included with our land use update? No.
This was a separate additional contract that we entered into after our comprehensive plan,
Okay.
so that we could.
I remember talking about it a long time ago.
So then, I mean, like you have the maps for the non-conformity analysis. You know, I'm trying to look at this and go, well, that's not bad.
She didn't pass that out.
You know, there's just little thoughts, so.
And we've seen this before. I mean, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
We've seen this before a couple times, yeah.
Council might like that one, right? They like the maps with all the stuff on it.
So we did share this. That's where we showed it when we had our meeting, our joint meeting, right? It was one of the first times that we showed some of that non-conformity.
We did something that actually.
Right, but it was a similar, I mean, that's what we just called it. I mean, that's what we called it was the non-conformity type thing that. Spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So, and then if you want to see where all these recommendations came from.
Like
you
what
can
we.
Go through the diagram
Variances on.
and get even more information.
I don't think it's all. How did they do that? I don't think it's a variance.
How did they do this?
The non-conforming.
It's like, if we gave a variance, is that non-conforming anymore?
That's.
Should be, right?
That was my question, because how would they know all the
Right.
variances? That if we gave a variance on, this is Versailles out here, and I was kind of surprised that it was. Okay, well, they don't show any, okay, on the first one, I can't even see any. Non-conform, or R1 district existing lot area. Where is it?
Dead center.
Oh, it's a little bitty spot.
There's a.
Other glasses on.
One guy holding out.
It's real tiny, so I have to look
Heck with you, I'm holding out.
and find them. I sure can't think.
Oh, there's another one right here.
Of yellow. Oh, my goodness.
Thing.
Yeah.
How much is?
Yeah. Yeah, they need the circle.
That's a cool.
It does do it.
I'm a developer, I like that.
But you all can zoom in on your little.
Yeah, who is that?
So isn't this. Apparently, if you look at one with R2 existing lot with. Like, Orchard, the what is it?
Park.
Okay. I got thinking it's like something. I mean, it only shows, it does show some non-conforming, but a variance was given on those. Correct.
There's no way they,
Apparently, they looked at
and I'm not sure.
that were given.
What do you think?
They mentioned the variances. If you read the actual.
I provided them all the
diagnostic,
information.
it tells you where
Yeah.
they saw the variances. Like there was one for Versailles.
Yeah.
They said these were all variances. We were only non-conforming, so your district is fine.
I really get a-
Provided them all
go through
the-
all those.
I don't wanna, yeah, I don't wanna know the price of that contract.
This part wasn't that.
Adam Brian's.
Compared to the contract.
Not at all.
Keeping the brines, right?
Brian's country.
It's off the record.
He's off. Over his limit.
It's the beginning of the month. He's okay.
3 hours.
All right, so
We've had this since May, and this was a meeting that didn't have much on it, so we wanted to get it before you. Although our clients are a little. Fast.
again, I think good question to ask. Make sure we create a folder for it and get it out there for it. That'd be good.
And if you do have any questions, comments, let us know. Because I know you're all gonna, you can't wait to read it tonight.
Put it right at the top.
Yeah.
The reading I've got to do, put me to sleep.
There's APAC training tomorrow night.
It's a really good one, y'all, with conditional use, variances, and what did I say? Development review. So
Could join Kayla and
I'm going to go now. I forgot I need to.
Y'all were gonna goof off. Now you gotta behave.
We gotta work.
Wants to.
Says it's a webinar, right?
from 6 to 9.
It's just a webinar. On there, you will. I mean, they do ask you questions, so you
You have to have your camera turned on.
You do, they'll get mad if you turn it off. They like get yelled at when you need dinner and they're like, turn your camera on. I'm like, eat my
Oh,
nose.
see,
I don't care, I've done
Play
it.
with that.
anyway.
Couple things I have to play with that, and they'll be like, turn it off.
So we're gonna ask you to turn.
Turn it off, dude.
Or put pants on. Take it.
You're in the shower, come on.
There's a council meeting on 10/10. Our next planning meeting is the 17th. If you can't be here, let us know. See you before the next tech review meeting, which is on my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Anything else from staff? What? All right.
You ready for a big meeting next meeting?
In case you didn't know, Devin Murphy's mom passed away. Now, they've already had the funeral and stuff. It was on Saturday, but if you see Debbie, might let him know. And then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Anybody opposed?
You should be very proud of me. It's just an honor.
Yeah, I was in honor of.
I got a birthday to get to.
Hold on, I was gonna jump in.
But you gotta so move us.
Oh, you didn't get that out of